Hello there, sword friends. Today I'm going to tell you about this sword right here. This is a Rick Barrett Orashagane katana mounted up and done by Josiah Boomershine. And forgive the clickbaity message here, but it's interesting. I think the sword might be cursed because everyone that touch it seems to have a little bit of trouble with it. Anyway, my troubles are small in comparison and more or less are around shipping damage and having to address that with the seller of the sword. Everything worked out. We hopefully walked away as friends, but the point is that the sword itself arrived damaged. Customs had it for a really long time. It appeared that it was lost and it wasn't moving, and then all of a sudden one day it showed up, and when I pulled it out of the box, despite what appeared to me to be reasonably good shipping, there was some damage to this sword and the companion sword that I got with it, which was had, I think, the worser of the damage. Anyway, this one, I'll show you the damage and I'll show you what happened. And I haven't had a chance to really address anything yet, but hopefully in time I can have smart people deal with it. Anyway, Rick Barrett sword. So first off, these fittings were done by Josiah Boomershine, and they're like a patinaed silver as far as I'm aware, and done in a Hadachi style. And they are really, really cool. And one of the reasons I wanted to pull this sword out is because I think it showcases what Josiah Boomershine, some of the capabilities of Josiah Boomershine. He's like a jack of all trades. I use him a lot for polishing, but he can mount swords up and make fittings and do lots of stuff. So if you're wondering, hey, I have a sword project in mind, who can do the work, Josiah Boomershine is certainly worth your consideration. And this is some of the work that he's capable of doing. So these fittings are in a Hadachi style. They're made by Josiah, and I think they are silver and then patinaed or aged to look older. And so you can see the Samigawa comes through the face of the Hadachi bit here. The transitions overall look really good. The knots and everything. This is exceptionally tight Ito. it maybe, the ends of some knots can move like half a millimeter or something, but it's very, very tight. It feels kind of like a rock. The shape of the handle as well is slender, and I really like that. I tend to prefer slender handles. There's not a whole lot of wasting here, but when you have a really, really slender handle that probably gets pretty close to the Nakago, there's not a lot of opportunity to waste the handle and still have something structurally good. Here, I overall like the feeling. Aesthetically, it'd be kind of cool if it wasted a little bit, but I don't know if that's really all that important. There's nice nodule skin here. I can make out an emperor node. It's on the right side as well. And there's like a deep blue Ito here, and it's not frayed. It has a very, very nice feeling to it. I have a case of tennis elbow too, so it's sometimes tough for me to grip and hold things. Anyway, the Fuchi up here has, again, the same kind of patinaed silver finish. Transitions as well look really good, and I like how the sword lines up here. So just the Fuchi is about the same size as the Koiguchi area right here, and it transitions just aesthetically really well. The tsuba is, again, this kind of aged silver. It's kind of this patinated silver look to it. It has kind of a texture to it as well, so it's not perfectly flat. It has nice patina on it overall. It'd be kind of cool if there were, more to it. It's very simple. All the fittings on here look pretty simple, and I believe that was done as a cost situation. The previous owner, as I recall, had like a 10-year escapade in getting this sword done, and I really can't say all of the details on it or why it took so long, but I know there was a lot of frustration from everyone involved. The fittings over here, I think maybe initially were planned to have it, but 10 years later and costs and all that kind of stuff, I think simple was the choice to maintain the Hadachi style, but at the same time, have the silver and the Hadachi, but the time it takes to really etch in any kind of detail is enormous, and therefore the cost starts to add up pretty quickly. Anyway, the seppa here that line up are really smooth, transition well. There's not a lot of additional detail on them, but given that the rest of the stuff is pretty simple, I think it overall looks really nice. I'm going to continue down the saya. So the Koiguchi has the same aged silver. Here I can see some etching, or not etching. I can see some relief cuts or something in there to add just a little bit of dimension to the metal collar up here. I can't remember what this piece is called, but it also has some some detailing and some metal work that runs along the rim of it. And then this fitting down here, the kojiri, is really bold and I think really cool. These are a pain in the ass to make and a pain in the ass to fit without scratching and fucking up all of the paint work on the scabbard. So I don't see anything that's like scratching anything. So overall, I think this is pretty cool, and it's a really durable looking kojiri. A little end cap on here. It has the Hadachi finish on it, but it makes me think like if you had the saya and pulled it out, you could thwap somebody in the head with this, and it would hurt a lot more than if it was just made of wood. Anyway, it appears really solid and durable. It also has kind of that aged, rugged look. And then the saya has this Ishimae style finish, which is a little bit bolder than I'm used to seeing. So it's an even pattern of Ishimae finish, but it's the nodge. I guess the rippling texture feels more stone-like instead of what I'm used to seeing. And then the shape of the scabbard is really slender. I happen to like that. At the same time, it doesn't have a lot of taper. It maintains some thickness, so I'm guessing that's where it's going to hold together. And the damage that came is, unfortunately, the kurigata just kind of popped off. So this was the shipping damage that I had, is the kurigata popped off. I imagine it could be filed and glued, but this is a pretty expensive sword, right? So on one hand, it's like, well, just take some super glue and stick it back on there. But I'm all thumbs when it comes to doing things really well, and this sword is thousands of dollars. To have Rick Barrett make an Orashagane blade, I'm sure would just the blade itself cost thousands, potentially $4,000 or something. I'm not sure exactly what he would even charge I don't think he makes them anymore, but if you had a bare blade, it's not an inexpensive bare blade, I'll say that. And then polishing it is also another charge. And then having Josiah make the fittings and all this, I'm sure, again, is $4,000 or $5,000 or more to have this done. So it's really a very expensive sword if you commissioned it today, and throwing a dab of glue on there seems insufficient. I would like to have it done and secured in a better way than my crude attempts at doing it, because this is a sword that seems to be elevated in such a way that crude attempts are beneath it. So while the dab of glue might hold it on there, I'm not confident I could get it on there really secure and well. So I'm gonna have to send it out to have somebody more competent than me do it. The Sageo on here appears to be a suede kind of dyed. I think Josiah makes this kind of Sageo here. This is like a suede material that I believe he makes himself, and it feels very supple and nice. Incidentally, I think he makes Ito as well. So if you want custom suede Ito, I believe that is also in his wheelhouse. Anyway, I believe this was customs. I don't know if they took it out of the box and swung it around or banged it into things. Fortunately, there wasn't a lot of other issues with the scabbard, apart from there are some very minor cracks along the seam here as well. Now, given that whatever force it went under was enough to just kind of break the kurigata off, it's not a surprise that there's some cracking in the scabbard. It's small, and so it's not super apparent, but if you use it, it's likely going to get worse, and fixing it is likely going to require some sanding and then a reapplication of Ishimae, or maybe splitting the saya and gluing it for security, and then repainting it, which is again going to be likely a costly endeavor if I want it to be perfect, right? So I can make out some cracks along, at least along the front, and I want to say they're on the back, but the lighting is hiding it from me at the moment. But I can make out the crack in the seam on the front. Anyway, that is the main damage that happened on the sword, and it's disappointing because it's just expensive to deal with, and I'm sure it's problematic, and the seller isn't happy about it either. Nobody's happy, so hopefully insurance covers it. Anyway, I do know that like getting all this stuff made took a long time as well. So when I say cursed, like it came to me and it was damaged by customs and is frustrating in that way. And the previous owner had to spend years trying to get it made, and I don't know the circumstances there, but it was very frustrating for him. And I know that mounting it up and things taking longer than expected is also frustrating for craftsmen. So everyone involved has I think a degree of frustration when it comes to this sword. But the output is certainly beautiful, and hopefully worth everyone's effort. The habaki, also I don't know if Josiah made this. It reminds me of Josiah's work, but I'm not 100% sure if it's his work. Josiah's, incidentally, is I've talked up his skills, but habaki are one of the things that he's really well known for in terms of making really exceptional habaki. This is pretty. It's got little feet along the spine. The way it rests on the blade seems right. It has this scratch pattern on it, that's commonly done like a raindrop or something like that pattern. I don't know if that's actually what it is, but it's like a cat scratchy pattern, and it's done in silver. It's really, really quite beautiful. Anyway, the blade is a Orashagane blade from my understanding, so it's a folded blade that Rick made, and it has kind of an erratic hamon pattern to it. The polish on it is overall, I think, pretty simple. I don't know if Josiah did the polish or who did it. I would speculate him or Rick. And I don't think really brings out as much character in the blade as possible. This may be another thing where some savings was done to not take it to the fingerstone level or do a really high art polish on it. What's here though is certainly enough to make out a lot of character and detail in the steel itself. There's a lot of folding that's happening in it, a lot of erratic pattern on the hamon, and it's really something pretty to look at. Overall, the polish isn't bad. It's very smooth. The lines are clean, but I think there's more fingerstone work that could be done to bring out more character if that was the desire. The yokote could also be burnished a little different and stand out a little bit more. As it is, it's okay, but I think it could be done a little bit more. But that's a question of time and money. Anyway, as it is, it's a long sword. It's not super thick, so it's a little bit it's longer and on the thinner side. So as a training tool, it's actually kind of nice. It doesn't have a bohi though. It's not particularly loud, so as I swing it around, it's hard for me to hear what's going on. At the same time, it's pretty and it moves around really nicely, and the pattern and feeling of it overall is really quite spectacular. Anyway, that's really all I have to share with you. It was just a look at the sword, some rambling about the details around it. I think it's really pretty cool. I just haven't had a lot of time to spend with it, frankly. I got this, it was supposed to be like a month before I had moved, and I happened to get it like right before or in the midst of moving, and I've used the moving excuse a lot, but in the course of making these videos, I haven't had time to pull it out and spend much time with it or look at it. I got it. I was glad it eventually showed up, but then it went in a bag and kind of sat in the corner. So as it is though, it's really pretty. I'm actually really glad that, the other sword that I got, kind of the companion piece to it, which is really similar. It's also Hadachi style. It's, done in slightly different fittings, and it's not folded. But the 1075 sword that I got had a bunch of scratches on it that arrived from customs. If there was one that had to be scratched and one that had to have a damage crate got it, I guess I'm glad that the polish on this one is good, and it doesn't appear to need any polishing. So, I mean, not that a more refined art polish wouldn't bring out some additional detail, but as it is, it's really quite something to look at. Anyway, hopefully that's interesting. That's all I've got. It was just a quick share of the collection. If you are interested in picking one up, I don't think you really can, honestly. This one might someday go up for sale. I'm not sure yet. But Josiah can do a lot of the work. Rick Barrett made the sword. Sometimes he has remnants of his sword making days up for sale. You can keep an eye out for them. And yeah, that's all I got. Anyway, links and all that in the description down below, and measurements for this one and all that kind of stuff. If you have any questions, let me know in the commentary. That's all I got. Cheers, and thanks for watching.